Welcome to your Daily 5 for Wednesday, September 27th, 2023. Recently, I did a mid-season review of the 5th season of What We Do in the Shadows, the ensemble comedy about a group of vampires, which of course is an adaptation of the film of the same name that was also about a group of vampires living together. In fact, it's really kind of a sequel as opposed to a adaptation, because the characters from the movie are in the show as the same characters, so it clearly takes place after the events of the movie. So it's really kind of a sequel series. Whatever, it doesn't matter. That is the least important thing. So when I did my mid-season review, one of the things I talked about was that in season 4, it felt like they had started to try to rebalance some of the chemistry of the show, specifically in terms of the character moments, the serious, although, don't get me wrong, it's not Schindler's List or anything, but more serious character development moments along with the humor that really defined specifically the first 2 seasons of the show. And that stuff had been in there in the first 2 seasons. There had been elements of it, but it really felt like in season 4, they were trying a slightly altered approach to things. And because I use my wife, as I've said before, as the average viewer barometer, because I cannot be trusted to represent an average viewer whatsoever. And she did not particularly care for season 4. Now, she would not say, neither would I, that it was a bad season by any stretch of the imagination, but she felt like something was different about season 4, and so she was apprehensive about season 5. I wasn't, because, like I said, I'm not an average viewer, so I'm in for this thing probably for as long as it runs, as long as it doesn't actually become bad. But I was kind of curious what her reaction to season 5 would be. And as I talked about in my mid-season review, it did feel like maybe people involved with the show had a hunch that maybe something was a little bit off as well, because it did feel like there was some retuning of that comedic and character balance. I don't know, it's subtle, but it's definitely there. My wife picked up on it too. That felt like season 5 started off very differently in that first half than season 4 did. Now, the interesting part is, once we got past the midpoint, because we had watched episodes 1 through 5 when I did that mid-season review, when we got past that point, I started to notice that they were starting to kind of move the dial a little bit more, like very similar to season 4, and I thought, uh-oh, where is this going to end up? Is this going to end up with a great first half and then a disappointing second half? Now, when we got to the end, I thought it was fantastic, but I kept my counsel to myself, and I said to my wife, I said, well, what'd you think? And she thought it was great. She thought it was a massive improvement over season 4. And what that tells me is, it's not really what they did in season 4. I think it's the way that they kind of introduced those alterations. I think they stepped on the gas a little bit too hard in the way that they were redoing the balance of comedy versus character. And I think in season 5, they were ramping up the alteration of the mix, and that made all the difference. Although we both said to each other, this 5th season sure feels like it could have been the finale for the whole thing, that this could have been the series finale, not just a season finale. And we both are wondering how long this show can run. Not because the concept doesn't have a lot of mileage left in it, I think it does, but this is a very, very effective ensemble comedy that operates at a high level most of the time. And that is a very difficult momentum to maintain over the long run. I mean, I think about what we do with the series Modern Family, which ran for 10 or 11 seasons, and we got to the 6th season of that show, and my wife and I just completely lost interest. And basically what we do now is, when we rewatch it, we just stop at season 5, because we feel like the first 5 seasons are generally very funny. They complete a very, very important story arc for the characters, and what's left over doesn't really matter. And so that's kind of the consolation end of it. If, in fact, season 5 of What We Do in the Shadows ends up being its last great season or even good season, we'll just stop there, because it does feel like it is at least partially engineered to serve as a possible series finale. And that's not exactly a bad idea anyway, because you never know when shows are going to get canceled, even if they seem to be doing well. But yeah, it will be interesting to see how much longer the show can run. I know it's got one more season because it got renewed for 5 and 6. Whether it goes past that, harder to say. So I'd be curious if anybody has watched the 5th season or is watching the 5th season. Do you feel like it is a difference from 4? Did you like 4? And if you finish the season, what is your feeling on how much further the show can go? I'd be curious. Let me know later.